Hello everybody and welcome to our news update. This is the news for the week of March 2nd, and today we are going to dig into all things Villains Land. So there have been a lot of new updates that have come out over the past couple weeks, and we're going to really dig in to what we know, what we think is coming, and all of these new details. So let's get started. All right, so there's been a change of plans to the actual attractions that we're getting. So I know we were all expecting a Maleficent Coaster. It looks like this is not going to be the case anymore. We're going to get into the full details of what we're expecting from the Maleficent Now e-ticket level ride. But first, let's talk about the other two that we know about. So the first one is a Ursula spinner ride. So obviously this is just to get some capacity into this area of the park. So this is a flat spinner ride, nothing overly exciting here, but it will be themed to the Sea Witch from The Little Mermaid. But the other one is another coaster that we weren't originally expecting, which is based on the Emperor's New Groove. Now, I'm sure you all remember these scenes from the Emperor's New Groove where you have Yzma and Kronk pulling the lever and going on the track down to the secret lab. If you're anything like me, the instant you saw this, you immediately wanted to ride it, and I'm so excited that it looks like we're finally going to be getting this as an actual attraction. So the rumor here is that there's actually going to be a drop point where you do get that pull the lever moment, potentially even a wrong lever moment, and that you will drop to that track. Now, this isn't going to be a crazy high intensity ride. We're probably looking something more along the lines of Slinky Dog Dash, which is a great level. If you've been on it even as an adult, it is a really fun ride, but it is at least smooth enough and light enough that some of the younger kids can go on it. So I think this is a really nice balance to get that storytelling, get a bit of a thrill, but still make it a family-friendly attraction. I cannot wait to see what they do with this. The theming should be amazing, and to get any extra Patrick Warburton into the parks is always a huge plus. Now, obviously, the big e-ticket attraction in this land is going to be the Maleficent Attraction, and we are talking now a big e-ticket level indoor dark ride. So what we're looking at now is that it's probably going to be a water-based attraction using the ride system from the Sunken Treasure Pirates ride in Shanghai Disneyland. Now, if you're anything like me, when you first heard this, my immediate thought was, there is not a lot of water in Sleeping Beauty. So it seemed like a bit of an odd choice to go with a water attraction for Maleficent, but the more I started looking into it, the more it made sense. So it gives them a few extra perks that should pay off for the final experience. So firstly is the mist effect. So if you've seen Sleeping Beauty, you know that Maleficent travels with this kind of green fog. So having a water-based attraction will let them use misters and fog effects that will be able to surround the boats and create that kind of floating, foggy experience. So it may not actually end up feeling like a water attraction so much, and they might be able to cover some of that experience and have you just immersed in kind of Maleficent's world, which could be a really good effect if they use it properly. The other one is that it gives them a crazy amount of control over the storytelling. So this ride, if you've seen videos of it or if you've had an opportunity to experience this Pirates attraction before, they use a completely different system for moving you along the water. So rather than just following the current like is standard, they're using a magnet system to completely control where the boat moves. So this means that they can propel you forward quickly, they can completely stop you for a show scene, they can rotate you around, so kind of like the Omni movers in the Haunted Mansion. They can direct your view of sight to different show scenes, and they can even have you move backwards. So there's a lot that they can do with this, and it also supports giant projection domes, lots of huge spacing. And in theory, we're supposed to be getting a new A1000 animatronic of Maleficent, a life-size Dragon Maleficent in this attraction. So I'm really excited to see what they do with this. This is some next level planning, and if they do it right, the storytelling here could be incredible. The other nice thing about a water attraction is that you get that reflection from the water. So again, if they want to immerse you in that storytelling, if you imagine this giant animatronic shooting fire down, and then if you had that on projection screens and then have it kind of reflected on the mirror of the water surface, you will feel completely surrounded. So there's some really cool things they can do here. I think the choice of a water attraction actually makes sense when you take all of this into account. The other cool thing is there is a Disney history tie-in here. So the original comes from Villain's Summit or Villain's Mountain, and this was a plan back in the 1990s that they were going to use to replace the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea area in Walt Disney World. And they were talking about building a mountain here that would celebrate multiple villains and that would likely culminate in Chernabog at the end on this giant summit. So this was also a water attraction, so it's kind of cool that they're carrying the storyline through to the new ride. So obviously we didn't get the Villains Summit. At the time, it was competing with another proposed mountain over in Adventureland that was themed off of Atlantis, which also I would have loved to see and we'll dig into at some point. There was even moments in this one where they wanted to take the log that you were kind of floating along in and they wanted to remove it from the water track and have you flying through the air at some points. So obviously this was crazy ambitious. It would have been super expensive to build and they weren't looking to make that investment at the time because obviously there was huge growth and investment already happening in the 1990s. So it's nice that this is pulling back into our new version of Villains Land and that we're still seeing some of this move forward. So next level stuff coming through here. I cannot wait to see the concept art for this specific attraction and models coming down the pike. I'm looking forward to all of that. The other cool thing to note here is that with this new update, they've also expanded the footprint of this attraction. So we're looking at around 90,000 square feet. So this is going to be huge. Now let's talk dining. So it does look like there's potentially going to be a Hades dinner show kind of experience. So they're looking at a large dining area and there seems to be a stage set up there. So we are expecting some type of interactive entertainment. I think this is a really cool idea. Hades is a great character. He's super entertaining. He's super engaging. And the nice thing about him too is that he can also be topical, similar to what they've done with the genie in the past in some of the Aladdin shows. Letting them have kind of those topical spin-offs could keep this show fresh if they can get a great Hades performing at some place like this. The other thought here is there is a building permit directly behind the Haunted Mansion. There's a thought here that there might be a lounge for the Haunted Mansion built out in this area. So this would be kind of a transition from going from the Haunted Mansion area through this lounge experience, and then you'll get to Villains Land through there. So kind of transitioning to this new space. Obviously, I'm all about getting more Haunted Mansion in the parks. We've seen this done really well. The Beacon Barrel is fun with the theming. If you've seen any of the videos of the new Haunted Mansion lounge on the cruise ships, it looks super cool. So bringing that to the parks, I'm all in. Now the other big thing here is the Obsidian Wall. So what this is it's going to be the berm for this Villains Land. So the idea here is that they want you fully immersed. You don't want to be standing in the middle of a villain's space and have a happy Cinderella's castle looming in the background. Obviously, thematically, that doesn't necessarily make sense. They could tie it in if they really wanted to, but it seems like they're instead building this super tall obsidian wall that is going to block your view and keep you in that space. The other rumors here is that they're going to be doing some really cool things with that wall. So they have mentioned that Chernabog is going to be visible and part of the Villains Land. We haven't seen how that's going to be yet, but there's a lot of ideas around that he will be incorporated into this obsidian wall, which totally makes sense if you've seen the Night on Bald Mountain sequence, that he essentially is the mountain and his wings open up and he is part of that. That was always a really cool part of one of the electrical parades, having him kind of unfurl from that mountain position. So I would love to see something like that in the parks. It sounds like they're going to be putting some really cool lighting packages set up here. They could do some projection mapping, and potentially at dusk, as the sun sets, we could see Chernabog appear on the obsidian wall and kind of take over Villains Land for the evening. So the good news here is that we are progressing. Obviously, construction permits are coming out. We're seeing more and more details all the time, and the idea that they have kind of blown up their original smaller ideas and they've really expanded and they're going all in Villains Land is great news. Hopefully this is also a good sign for Josh D'Amaro taking over as CEO, that we're really investing in this new Villains Land, and that idea of let's not necessarily worry about every penny, but let's make a crazy experience. Obviously, this is going to help combat Epic Universe down the street. They went all in on that park, and so obviously Disney's got to up their game, but really good signs that they're moving in this direction. D23 is going to be from August 14th to 16th in Anaheim this year, so this is super exciting. We're hoping this will be the first time we get to see a model of the new area, and we'll get more details on this, as well as Cars Land and the Monsters Inc. Land. So that's going to be a really cool D23. Also a big showcase for Josh D'Amaro, showing where he's planning on taking the Disney company as he takes over. The sad part here is we are a long way off from seeing this happen. So even the Piston Peaks Land next door, we're looking at maybe 2029. Villains Land, we're looking at 2029, 2030. So we've got some time to wait. We're gonna have to work on our patience and just hope we have more details that we can hang on to in the meantime. But I'm super thrilled with the direction that they're going. I love that they're really investing in the parks again on a completely new level, and I'm really thrilled to see where they take it next. So that is all the news we have so far on the Villains Land. Obviously, as we get more details, I will keep you updated. Next week, we're going to be talking about all things Flower and Garden Festival that is opening up on Friday. Always an exciting, probably my favorite festival at Epcot. So we'll be talking about that next week. So with that, we'll see you next time.